Hi, I'm the Moorlander and this is Moorlander Tactical. Now today we are here to look at some sights. About a month ago, maybe a little bit longer, about 5 weeks ago, Feyachi got in touch and asked if I'd like to have a look at some of their combinations that they've just brought out. So specifically we're here today to look at the V30 Red Dot sight and the M37 1.5 to 5 magnification edition for that. Now I say edition for that, these are two separate items, but this should work with the vast majority of red dot sights that are out there with a 30mm riser on there. But before we continue, I just want to say a massive thank you to Feyachi for reaching out. I hope it's pronounced Feyachi, whether it's Feyachi or Feyachi. I do apologise if I've got that wrong. But yes, supporting the channel, and I'm certainly always humbled whenever somebody reaches out and asks if I'd like to make some content on their gear. So a huge thank you to them. I'll put some links down below so that you can see more from Feyachi. But for now, let's take a closer look at the V30 and the M37. So first we've got the Feyachi V30 Red Dot sight. Now this, as I mentioned, this is a 2 MOA Red Dot sight. Let's quickly have a look through the box here as it comes. Now I will say, so as it comes, how I've set this up here, it does come included with this 30mm riser. Because I've been using it with the 1.5 by 5 optic on there, then it's useful to have this on here. It lines up perfectly. When it comes, it doesn't come with this added to it. I'll show you inside the box now. So inside the box it comes, it's all nice and padded to make sure that if it's a sight that you're swapping out quite frequently, you can put it back into here and it'll keep it nice and safe. Now what it does come with, it comes with this normal riser, and it also comes with this additional 30mm riser. When it arrived, it did come with this one on here, but I have swapped it out. So inside the box you get the 30mm riser, and then you just get the normal attachment method. Normal attachment, it's standard Weaver Picatinny rail, which you get with most of these sort of sights. In here, so let's just grab this one. So you do get an extra battery with this. It's powered by a CR2032 battery. This one should have been in its plastic thing that it comes in, but I didn't realize that it comes with a battery pre-installed in here, so I did take it out. So yeah, that would be in its normal. You get a microfiber cloth so that you can clean your lenses. You do get some additional screws. I'll show you where these are used in a second. Plus you get a small little Allen key, which is more like a little one of these, I don't know what it's actually called, these little star Allen wrench thingy mobs. Yes, you get one of those, and as I say, so you do get one of these. Now being able to swap these over is actually relatively simple. So on the inside here you'll see that there is 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. That's what the additional screws are, just in case, because these are very small. If you lose them, I imagine they're particularly difficult to find again, so it's great that they have added those on there. But when you unscrew them, you'll be able to take this off, put the normal plate on there, which will just sit perfectly, and then screw them back in. When screwing these in, I'd always recommend, rather than just screwing 1, 2, 3, 4, you use this approach mainly just to make sure that it sits perfectly, and that is that you put all of them in, just sit them in so that they're seated within the threads, and then tighten one up, and then a little bit more, so that you do like a figure of 8, until you get to the end where you just need to give it just that extra little bit of hand tight. If you do it that way, you have less chance of damaging your threads when you're putting it on. It's always a good practice to follow, whether it's putting threads in this way or whichever way it is that you're doing it. Now going through some measurements on the actual V30 sight itself, we have a 20mm sight window. As far as your sizes are concerned, I'll give you them with this riser on first. So it comes in at 70mm by 47mm, and as I say, with this riser on here, it comes in at 72mm from top to bottom. You can go with the lower profile riser, or I suppose just the low profile mount on on here, and that will drop that down to 54mm if you're trying to find something that is just, yeah, you know, just a little bit more low profile on there. As far as the construction is concerned, this is made from aerospace aluminium. It's the T6 6061 aluminium on there, which is designed to be as light as possible, but also as strong as you could possibly make something, as you'd imagine with the that kind of aerospace grade aluminium. And as far as the coating is concerned, it is anodized, and it is anodized black on here. Some features wise, hopefully you'll be able to see that we have dust covers front and back should you want to remove these. They are fairly easy to remove. I say fairly easy, they're ridiculously easy to remove, but they will stay on there. You know, they're not going to come off. On the front, you have exactly the same, but what we also have on here is you can see that really nice hex pattern on there, which will stop any glare. If you're using these are rated for real steel rifles. However, if you do want to use this for skirmishing, for airsoft, that will make sure that it will keep your optic in there nice and protected. There's nothing worse than it being hit by a 6mm BB and then you have to go out and buy yourself a new optic. As far as being able to set your sight in here, so I'm just going to turn, actually let's go to the side. So well, turning it on, here is your on button. There are different levels of intensity that you can set. The red dot on the inside as well, so if I open this up, let's see if we can get this just right. I've been practicing this to try and see, let's turn it on first, let's make sure we're turned on. We've been practicing this to try and see if I can get it just right. So there you can see it, and then you've got an up and a down. So if I press this down, you'll be able to see that the intensity of the light does reduce, and if I press this again, you'll see that it will go back up again. Press the button in the middle, it will turn it off. Press it again, it will turn it back on again. It does have a how do they call it? I think they call it a non-use kind of thing. So if it notices that it's been inactive, and you know that goes from movement. If it's been inactive for a while, it will turn itself off, which I think is a great feature. There's nothing worse than picking up your rifle and then realizing that the battery's gone in it, and you know you're gonna have to try and put another battery in. As far as the batteries are concerned, it's housed under this large wheel here. So if I unscrew this, make sure this doesn't fall out. Here is your battery. As I mentioned, it is a CR2032. Screw this on, just make sure your threads are good. That holds that in place. And then we've also got riser and windage on here, and you can unscrew these. Now this is a completely toolless operation should you need to do this. Once it's on your rifle, you don't need to worry about taking these out with you. So on the bottom here, you'll see it just has this groove which will fit perfectly in here. So should you want to change, I'm glad that they've put that on there as well. So that is your elevation. You can push that in and then you can turn that, which is great. And it is exactly the same. Now I'm trying to do this on camera. There we go. For your windage as well. Left and right. So fiddly when I try and do this. So there you got your left and right. It's great again that they put it on there, and it's toolless because you can use the cap, push it on, turn it, and you can adjust your windage as well. So now with the V30 attached to my M4, I have it just close to the back, but close enough to the back that I can still keep my iron sight on here. So should the battery go, the batteries last pretty long time in these, then I can use the iron sight as a backup. Being able to cheek this is just perfect on the right level. Everything looks perfect looking through there. Being able to operate with both eyes open to be able to check my periphery is just right. And so I personally, I keep it on its brightest setting. I find that that's great for me. I imagine at night you might possibly want to reduce it down. I generally skirmish through the day. I know a lot of you full-on die-hard milsimmers might want to reduce it down at night. There isn't also an option for red and green with this. It's just red, but I certainly don't have any problem with that. Bring the rifle up, being able to cheek that. always find it exactly where I expect it to be. Now, if you already have the V30, the M37 is a perfect addition to add to this. But just to stress that these are two separate items and you buy them separately. Now, that's at the time of filming. They may, or Feyachi may do a bundle for these in the future. But yes, they are two separate items. So we will be looking at the M37 from now. Now, just to take a quick look through the box. So when this comes, it comes in just a standard kind of cardboard box. On the inside, as you'd probably expect, you get a little bit of literature about the M. So there are two similar ones. There is the M36 and there is the M370, but this is a 1.5 by 5 magnifier. You also get a little cloth so that you can clean it. There are some additional tools for mounting this and putting it together, and again an additional tool here. This tool stripped quite quickly, but hey ho, you know, they're just additional tools. I dare say if you are into rifling, then you already have all of these tools anyway. But yes, that's everything that comes in the box. So getting back to the M37, so this is a rail mounted scope that will work perfectly with the vast majority of red dot sights. Now I will say that it works with the vast majority of here, mainly because there are some things that you just need to double check. So from where the attachment fits to the rifle to the center of the glass here is 37 millimeters, which should fit the vast majority again of red dot sights out there with a 30 millimeter riser on them. But it is important that you double check that. If you have a lower riser or you have a higher riser, then yeah, you're probably going to struggle with this. And yeah, I mean, just go out and get a 30 millimeter riser for whatever you've got. But with the V30 sights, you get that anyway. So that's why I say that these work perfectly in tandem. As far as your measurements are concerned, it comes in at 130 millimeters, and it is 60 millimeters from the bottom to the top. It is a quick movement or a quick adjust. So once it's actually, sorry, well, let's take a quick step back. So what you do get is when it comes in the box, these are two separate things that you just need to put together. So you have the attachment to the Picatinny Weaver rail that you get on this part here, and then you have the actual scope, or the 1.5 to 5 magnifier. When you get it, you just need to make sure that it's attached to this clamp. So you will undo these 4 screws, pass it through, and then tighten them again. I'll always stress that when it comes to tightening, make sure it's just hand tight. You certainly don't want to damage any of the optics in here. And when you're tightening these, to make sure that you keep your threads as best as possible. Go in a figure of 8 so that you tighten, and just keep adding a little bit more to each of these so that they're progressively all seated together perfectly. That way you will do less damage to your threads, and it's just a good practice to follow anyway. So on the end here, hopefully you'll be able to see as there is a very nice clear glass in there. You'll be able to see the movement of the lenses within there. It is, and it does clearly say on here as well, so it is a 1.5 all the way through to a ×5 magnification. The sight through here is probably not the best to be able to see it on from here, but yeah, very clear, very certainly doesn't have any optical aberration around here when you're looking through it, and does a very good job of being able to just increase your magnification should you need it on any sort of red dot sight. If you're moving between wanting magnification, now generally for me, I've found that I keep it on about 4. Find that that's perfect for what I need. But there is a quick swap on here, so when it is on your rifle, you press this button in and then you can flip it out the side. You get then instant access to your normal 1 times red dot, and then should you need it, you can then press that in and move it to the side, or at least move it in line with your red dot. I will say this is great for right-handers, because I'll still be able to keep my hand or my finger on the trigger, and with my left hand move this up and move it across. I'll show you this when it's on the rifle in a second. It's a little trickier for left-handers. You will have to take, unless you do some strange reach over sort of thing, you will have to take your hand away from the trigger to be able to do that, but I guess that's something that you guys are probably used to. You could fit this the opposite way, where you'd have to pinch it or push it in with a finger to be able to move it. Obviously the sight would be the other way around, but yeah, I guess again, you know, that's something that you guys are used to. Just to make sure that you get as much clarity as possible, once you have this sighted in and you're at, you know, the magnification that you want, to make sure that you can get the optical focus that you need at that sight, there is an additional optical focus ring here at the end to give you as much clarity and to make sure that it's focused in exactly what you need. Now, just to point out, there is a tiny little bit of play in here. So if I get this, we're on 1.5 at the moment, which brings the optics on the inside as close to the lens as possible. So when you move this forward, there's just a little bit of play in this ring. But what that does is it just shifts the lens on the inside. That's because there's a cam in here, so this radial movement needs to action some sort of mechanism to bring this forward. So when it's on, you'll find that it'll just move the lens on the inside. If you move it maybe a few degrees, it will put it back exactly to what it should be to seat the lens perfectly on the inside. I think during the manufacturing process, or the tolerances are off ever so slightly. However, for me, I've found I keep it on ×4. When it's on ×4, I put it into ×4 and then just move it back to how it is. It's not the type of magnification for me that I'm constantly changing these and noticing that. It's not something I personally think for the price range of this. It's something that I would say don't get, because like I say, you know, you have your 1x sight, you move it into your 4x sight, and it does exactly what it needs to do. I've certainly not found that I want to adjust this whilst I'm out and I'm using this, but it is just something that I wanted to point out. On my Scorpion, mounting the V30 Red Dot sight is great. Being able to cheek, bringing it up, it's in the perfect position every single time. With the addition of the M37 on here, you can push the button in. As mentioned, being able to activate this as a right-handed shooter, put my thumb in there, push it in, and it folds over straight away. And there I have my ×4 instant kind of extra magnification. Want to take it off, hands up, push that in, and the sight is removed from that picture. If you're operating with 2 eyes, it does cover this eye ever so slightly, but that's just something that you'll get used to. It's certainly something that after a while just becomes second nature to be able to see around, push it in, push it off, and it's just there. Now I will say, when it locks in, it's locked in tight on there. It's definitely not moving. You put your thumb on it, it moves it out of the way, but there's no wiggle, there's no rattle, there's nothing in there whatsoever that makes you worried that this is going to fall off. It is 100% locked into place. I think the M37 is a great companion for any red dot sight. With a Feyachi V30, it works great with that. But as long as you're making sure that you check from the top of the Picatinny rail to the middle of your optic is no more or less than 37mm, then this should be a great addition to any other red dot sight. Now I'm sure that the V30 and the M37 will make a perfect addition to anybody's RIS setup. Having them on here has been great. Plinking and skirmishing with these has been brilliant as well. I don't usually run a magnifying sight on any of the rifles that I use, so it's something that's took me a little bit of getting used to how to change my play between wound clearing, quite close quarters shooting, but then with my M4 like this, being able to take a little bit longer shots with a little bit more precision. I've actually found these incredibly useful. So it's certainly something that I'm going to be keeping attached to my rifle from now on. So yeah, now what I'll say is, again, you know, a huge thank you to Feyachi for reaching out to me and asking if I'd like to make some content with these. Again, you know, I'm always super humbled whenever a company reaches out and asks for my opinion and for me to be able to show these off. So I will leave all of their links below so that you can see more from them, some of their social media links as well. I'll also leave some of my social media links. You can follow me here on Moorlander Tactical, or also on my other sister channel, Moorlander EDC. I'll leave those links below. But for now, as always, stay safe, stay Moorlander, and stay tactical. I do that all the time. I just spent 5 minutes talking about, well, I say 5 minutes, it's probably 30 seconds before the camera turns off when you've not pressed the record button. I do it all the time. Honestly, it's a nightmare. Terrible memory. Right, where were we? Let's start again. That is so hot. I actually really enjoyed making, ow, that was hotter than I was expecting. I actually really enjoyed making this content. I like to stretch my wings. Is that the right term? I think sometimes you need to push yourself to think outside of what is your comfort zone. I've made gear. I'm a gear nerd and I love gear, but the extra bits to attach to rifles and that sort of stuff, it's great being able to learn, to be able to increase your vocabulary around different things and pushing yourself to learn more. I've certainly had to try and increase my vocabulary on the certain attachments and all of that sort of stuff. Although I know what they are and I know how they work, making sure that I come across knowing it. You got to fake it till you make it, but I think in some respects we all need to learn. Got a bit deep then, didn't it? That got really deep, but yeah. Anyway, I hope you're all good. I hope you're managing to stay safe, having a good week, having a good weekend, whatever it is that you're watching this. And yeah, that's it from me. Have a good one. Love you. Bye.